or you want to get started? Okay. Well, good morning, everybody, and good evening if you are in Pakistan and other countries. Assalamu alaikum. So I am Babar Rao. I'm a professor of dermatology. I work in New York and California. And on the panel so far, I have obviously our chair of APPNA Merit, Danish. And just to remind everybody, this is a CME session and we follow all the rules and regulation as per CME. Also, the session is obviously provided or is run through support from APPNA. We obviously are thankful to APPNA. We are APPNA, so everything is done by APPNA in this case. Today, our speaker I don't think had a speaker like him in the past who has a combination of like robotics, software, and artificial intelligence knowledge. Dr. Umar Shahbaz Khan is a project director at National Center for Robotics and Automation at National University of Sciences and Technology, or we call it NUST in Islamabad. Now, Dr. Shahbaz did his bachelor in mechatronics, and I have to go to Google to learn what is mechatronics, and engineering from National University of Health Sciences in Pakistan. He did his PhD in electrical and electronics engineering from University of Liverpool in UK. And he has been serving as a faculty member for the Department of Mechatronics at NUST for some time, and head of Mechatronics Engineering Department from 2015 to 2020 he was. He completed and delivered R&D and PSF funded projects with about 20 million Pakistan rupees. When we mentioned that, that means if your research work is good, you will work on grants like that. So that goes to your CV. He has also published over 50 publications in his field, and he continued to basically do that. Today, he's going to enlighten us what is going on and summary of what kind of work they are doing and how we all can be part of it or utilize it, obviously, for overall benefit of Pakistani people in America, and obviously for the development and in health and other sectors in Pakistan. So with that, Shahbaz, please, let's get started.
Thank you very much, Dr. Babar. First of all, I'm grateful to APPNA and all of you for inviting us and giving us this opportunity and this platform to present our work. So like was said in the introduction, I am the project director of the National Center of Robotics and Automation, and we are working in various domains of robotics and automation in Pakistan. The panel that we have over here, three of my colleagues have joined us. They're also working in the biomedical domain in their labs, Dr. Ali Raza, Dr. Riaz, and Dr. Osman. So with this, I've got just, a presentation about 30-40 minutes in which I would like to give a quick overview of what the type of work that we are doing. So before we start, just a brief disclosure as can be seen. So the work that we are presenting over here is basically all made in Pakistan work. And the logos that you would be able to see, their affiliations of our labs from various universities in Pakistan. So coming to the basic agenda that is as flashed. So let's start with the the key terms that we are mentioning over here: robotics and automation. So robotics is basically an interdisciplinary research area which brings various fields of engineering, whether it's computer, whether it's engineering, whether it's design, construction. Put all of them together and you're able to develop a robot. So it's got some mechanical structures, it's got some electronics in it, it's got a microcontroller which serves as a brain, and you can put your code into it, make it intelligent by putting artificial intelligence into it. And automation is basically something that assists the human being. Basically, it reduces the human intervention in any application that can occur, whether it's in industry or whether it's in any other application, even in our households as well. So there are various types of robots that you would have seen, around the world. Like the one on the top left, this is a Roomba. It's a vacuum cleaner. It's basically a small device which is very intelligent. It can clean the carpet for you. It can identify where there is a wall, where there are steps. And even, when it's running out of charge, it can go locate its own charging station and just get charged from there. Then you can see robotics in outer space as well, outside the world, like in the out in the space stations that you have, and even the Mars rovers that we have. They're all robotic applications. Nowadays, you can see robotics in toys. So they're very intelligent small toys that can interact with the kids. And even in academia, like this little robot that you can see down here, the blue one, it's basically now, and there's a whole football league dedicated to now, which is known as the RoboCup. So there's two teams of 6 robots each, and they're playing soccer with each other, falling down. The aim is basically that by 2050, they would want robot team to play against a human team. So that's the sort of aim that people are working towards. Then the industry is filled with robotics. All the car manufacturing industry, they've got these big manipulators, like you can see over here, the orange ones. Kuka, ABB are some big names in this industry. Then you have robotics in different applications like disaster management. You can have them in exoskeleton systems where they're assisting the human beings. You can have them in the entertainment industry. Da Vinci is basically one of the robots that can actually perform surgeries, as you can see in the figure over here. And then you also have robotics in the military side as well, where you have various unmanned ground vehicles assisting the soldiers on different platforms. So when we talk about robotics tomorrow, and whenever you mention the term robot to anybody, the old school people, they would think about Terminators. Those who came later on, they would think about Star Trek and all of those series. So basically, it's the aim is to have a system which is as intelligent as a human being and is able to have that decision making power, and is able to perform the task that we do, because Allah has created us such that we have quite a lot of dexterity. The way our brain works, obviously a computer brain cannot do it, because you can retain memories, you can make very informed decisions in real time. So that's where the future is heading when we talk about robotics. Now, some of the predictions that I would like to mention is, in 2007, the Ministry of Information and Communication, they said that by 2018, robots will carry out maximum surgeries. So even though it's not maximum surgeries, however, you can see that the Da Vinci robot is now being used to perform surgeries. There's a doctor at the background who's actually operating it. But the benefits that this system has is that, it can make very precise insertions, and a probe can go in, it can have a camera, you can actually look inside, and it can even compensate for the tremor that a physician might have while he's performing surgery, a surgeon might have while he's performing surgeries. Then there was another one by NIST of Japan. They said that by 2019, 2021, nanorobots will cure diseases. Obviously, we don't see nanorobots curing diseases at this point of time, but a couple of years back, I met somebody, a Pakistani researcher who came from abroad, and the area that they were researching on was basically small robots that can be injected into the bloodstream, and you can basically control the movement of those robots by big magnets outside the body. Now, I kept on thinking, what would be the application of such robot, because you're controlling them by magnet, but what would you want them to do? And just, a couple of months back, I was just browsing through, and I came up with this video in which they said that you can have small robots that can actually carry sperm to the egg in order to, fertilize it. So you don't need those robots to be very active. They should have those containers, and you just need to guide them to that particular location very precisely. So yes, the world is moving in that direction. Now, globally, by 2025, the robotic market is to reach 66.9 billion. But what's very interesting to know through this graph and the color combination, that in the past, there was more focus on the industrial and the military side of robotics. But now you can see that the personal and the commercial aspect of robotics is also growing. These are the list of the top stock listed companies of robotics, and you can see that more than 50% of share in robotics is within US and Japan, and then you've got Germany, Taiwan, Switzerland, some other countries. Well, Pakistan is nowhere to be seen. We are in this other 7%, and well, we actually need to come up and adapt a leapfrog strategy to catch up with the world. When we talk about Pakistan and the challenges that we have in Pakistan, so well, there are three major challenges that we've identified when it comes to this field. The first one is indigenization. We're dependent on imports, so we need to actually, provide import substitution to the country. Similarly, our local industry, the world has moved on to Industry 4.0 and all, but a lot of industry in Pakistan is still manually operated. So we need to bring our industry up to 4.0 standards. And then finally, when you put in a technology, you need to provide the relevant HR so that, the industry and the society is supported with people who have the knowledge of this domain. So in 2018, four national centers were established. There was the National Center of Cybersecurity, which is at Air University, the National Center of Big Data and Cloud Computing, which is at LUMS, and two centers were established at NUST. One is the National Center of Artificial Intelligence, which is at our main campus, and the National Center of Robotics and Automation, which is at our sub-campus, which is College of Electrical and Mechanical Engineering. So all of these four centers were through a very competitive process in which you had, many concept notes were submitted by leading experts of the field, and then there was a panel, and there were a couple of rounds of selections, and through that, the top, 10, 11 experts were funded for labs. So it's basically a consortium model. We have like NCRA. In NCRA, we have 11 labs in 13 universities across Pakistan. Some labs are split among 2 universities. It's a 8.17 million USD project for a duration of 3 years. And I can very proudly say that NCRA is one of the biggest centers because we have presence in all the 4 provinces and AJK, 11 labs in 13 universities. And we have a number of faculty members, researchers, PhD students, master students. We have our own research assistants, research associate, and basically all the labs were supported in terms of equipment and in terms of HR. So here's the hierarchy of our center. We are headed by a national steering committee. But just to keep at par with the international research, we also have a scientific and industrial advisory board, which is basically composed of leading experts from around the world. So we've got people from USA, Germany, South Korea, Norway, Austria, China, and from Pakistan as well. So general domains that we cover in our center are basically agriculture robotics, biomedical robotics, micro electromechanical systems, industrial automation, manufacturing facility. We have a state-of-the-art manufacturing facility, and then autonomous vehicles and aerial vehicles and condition monitoring as well. So I've just got one slide each of just to give you an overview what our labs are doing. So the first lab that I'm showing over here is the Robotics Lab. It's basically at College of EME at NUST. This is basically a prototyping facility. So, the researchers are doing their research, they're designing their own, models and everything, but they need a under one roof solution to, put it all together and, give us a prototype. So this facility has, metalworking, plastic working, woodworking, PCB fabrication. It's got design services. We've got design engineers of our own. We've got injection molding and rapid prototyping machines. And basically, the design is going to come from the lab, and the prototype is going to be developed from this particular lab. Then we've got a lab at ITU. It's the Industrial Monitoring Lab. It's working more towards the automation side. They've developed various systems. Like, for example, one of their systems, they basically are monitoring the air pollution. So it's based in Lahore, and smog is a big issue in Lahore. So we have developed our own system in which we can actually measure the pollutants in the air and tell you about the quality of the air that we have. So I'm just rushing through this videos because the presentation is going to get too long. But just to give you an overview, so the software and the hardware is all developed locally, indigenously here in Pakistan. Now, besides that, ITU is working in various other domains as well. Since they're working very closely with the industry, they've developed various monitoring systems for the industry. There are various devices, some devices that can, monitor the whole system, give you the information on the screen. There are certain devices that can measure the, temperature of, a whole industrial area. Then there are other devices that can, work with the motors. You can control the motors through them, and you can even do condition monitoring through this lab. So we've got that relevant equipment as well. Motor calculation can be done through this lab. And one very interesting project that we recently did I'm just looking through this one. So basically, being in Lahore, this lab is working very closely with WASA, and they've actually automated the 12 systems that we have in Lahore. So you have a central monitoring station where all the data comes in, and you can actually monitor where water is being wasted or how much usage of water is being done. The whole software has been developed by our lab. And this picture that you can see here on the left, these are basically smartphones. So basically, when it's raining, you can place them in various locations and they can measure the quantity of water. And if some area gets flooded, they're all IoT enabled. So they can basically inform the authorities to if any flooded area needs any support or drainage. Then we've got a lab at Yale University, which is known as the MEMS lab. MEMS stands for Micro Electromechanical Systems, and it's basically related to sensor design. So we've got a very strong team of MEMS experts. They can design various types of sensors, whether they are gyroscopes or accelerometer. And these type of sensors are basically used in robotic systems. And we've also got a state-of-the-art testing facility in which, if you have these small chips, you can actually test them. Unfortunately, we don't have a fabrication facility. For that, we are still dependent on abroad because that's a very expensive lab. However, we've got the testing facility and the designing facility is here available here in Pakistan. Our agriculture robotics lab at LUMS, so they're working in the agriculture domain, more specifically towards precision agriculture. And this particular lab, when I talk about precision agriculture, it's monitoring of various parameters of the soil and the earth and the water, and you've got cameras installed, and you can get various types of vegetation information from the field. We've got a test site at LUMS, and we also have installed a setup at Bahria Orchid, where you can monitor the agricultural fields. Similarly, you can also monitor contents of the water. So in that context, it could be drone-based, and they've also developed a small buoy which you can just leave in the river. It's going to float away, and through IoT, it's going to send information about the water contents. So you can monitor the quality of water that you have in any canal. And through drones, we are also able to do 3D mapping of canals and irrigation systems as well. Then we've got the UAV Dependability Lab at FAST. They're actually working with drones. They're working in close collaboration with Pakistan Camera as well. They can do the software and the hardware in loop testing. And we've developed our own small fixed wing that has the durability of 30 minutes, and it can be actually used for various applications. Like, for example, if you have big mega projects like building a dam or building a housing society, so you can get aerial footages frequently, and you can actually see the progress of work going on. Then we've got a lab at UT Texas, which is the Swarm Robotics
Welcome.
Lab. And by Swarm
Our team,
Robotics
Swarm
Lab,
Prodigies,
it means you have these small robots. They could be aerial, they could be ground, who basically communicate with each other. Now, very interestingly, we developed our own small robots through this lab. And sorry, let me just zoom to the point. Yeah, these small robots, they can work in part of the group. And one of the tasks of this particular lab, or the aim of this particular lab, is to introduce this technology at STEM level, at school level as well, at school, college, and university levels. So you can have multiple robots. They're working together as part of a group. They're communicating with each other. They can perform different tasks. So this is the technology that we would like to introduce in our youth as well. We've got the lab at this is at two various locations. One is at Butams, which is in Balochistan, and the other is in Mirpur University of Science and Technology. So the Butams, they're working on various areas of, they've developed their own small campus bus, and then they're working on search and rescue types of robots, like some social robots that can act as waiters, and the snake robot. It can actually, if there's a disaster and an earthquake, basically it can go into narrow passages, and it has a camera, so you can actually go in and see if anybody is stuck under the rubble. Our lab at Mirpur University, they're working in autonomous cars domain. This yellow picture that you see on the left hand side is basically a two-seater electric vehicle which is completely autonomous. So they've tested it into their campus. And the next version is basically this autonomous loader that you can see in this video. So basically, it's all indigenously developed. The software is also indigenously developed. It's intelligent. It's smart. We aim to actually pitch this to different warehouses, big warehouses in which you want to carry stuff from one point to another. So you can have this sort of loaders which are already programmed. You just have to load it up and give it a signal, and it will go to the other part of the warehouse, wherever you want to store it. So this particular design that we've developed, it can carry a payload of 450 kg. And then we've got the Advanced Robotics Lab at UAT Peshawar. So they're mostly working towards the agriculture side, but slightly different because than lumps, because in this case, we are working on systems that can be mounted on top of tractors. So this sprayer system that you can see here in the picture, this is already ready, but they're also working on different plowing and sowing applications for agriculture field as well. And Pakistan, being an agricultural state, does need this type of support so that we could provide import substitution. And one of the area of this lab is also working on the prosthesis, knee joint. So on some areas we have a bit of an overlap because we had expertise in different parts of the country, but all these researchers, they have been linked together, and now instead of creating parallel pillars, they are working in collaboration with each other to improve the technology at a fast pace. Now, the rest of the labs I've kept in a separate section because they're more focused towards the biomedical application. Some labs are working in other areas as well, but I'll give you an overview in a bit. Now, the first lab that's working in biomedical is at UAT Lahore. Dr. Ali Raza, he's part of the panel. He's leading that lab. It's the Human-Centered Robotics Lab. They're working on different areas of prosthesis, exoskeletons, and collaborative robots, also known as cobots. So they've developed a semi-active ankle foot prosthesis. You have a foot prosthesis, and then you have this knee design. They have both been developed for people who've got lower limb amputation. And if you look at the salient features, it can lift a load of 80 kg of a normal human beings. The plantarflexion and dorsiflexion motion is 45 degrees and 25 degrees respectively. The control algorithm has already been incorporated. It's got various sensors like IMU in it, and its weight is just 3 kgs. The knee design, again, it can also carry a load of 80 kg. It's got a range of 0 to 110 degrees. And, it can actually follow the normal human gait cycle to assist the, people with lower limb amputations. Now, another part of this lab is at another university, UCP Lahore, which is headed by Dr. Zuhaib Aftab. They're working on different devices. The first video that you can see, this is for gait phase detection. So it's basically a wearable embedded systems which can send information to a central processing unit, and it basically quantifies the gait parameters of the walk gait that you can have, and all this data is wirelessly transmitted to the processor. And another area that they're working on, polio is still here in Pakistan. So they've made a totally mechanical joint, which is, state of the art. And this whole harness can actually assist a polio patient in his normal walking. Then we've got the Robot Design and Development Lab. It's at NUST. So in this particular lab, it's working in 3 general areas: the unmanned ground vehicles, agricultural robotics, and the biomedical. But just to give you an overview of the difference of the agri from the other labs, this particular lab has a very high capacity of developing many types of unmanned vehicles. So these are basically small remote control robots. They could be really small and they could be very big. They can have various manipulators, whether it's for defense applications or whether it's for surveillance or pick and place applications. And just to show you a small short video, as you can see now, this is basically a remote controlled UGV, and it has the capacity. This is basically a G3 rifle. That it's very stable. The platform is very stable, so you can control it. It gives video information back, and it's got a range about 1 kilometers. On the agriculture side, well, this lab was the first one that introduced agriculture spraying. And when you have these different types of fields in which you want to do agriculture spraying, like they recently did a project for PTC Mardan, in which you've got vast areas and you can actually use drones to spray for purposes. So it's fast, it utilizes less water than conventional methods, and obviously these sprays, they're hazardous to human beings, so basically now the humans are safe as well. So when you have fields like this, when sugarcane and stuff like that, those sort of fields are very ideal for drone spraying applications, because human beings can't go inside. Besides that, this lab is also working on 3D modeling, getting agitation index from satellite imagery as well. So these are some other areas that they're working on. But now coming back to the biomedical side, one of the key projects, I was also a lead of this project, is the myoprosthetic upper limb. So we've been working in this domain for quite some time. It's for upper limb amputation. Like this gentleman over here, he's got a double arm amputation, one near the shoulder and one near the elbow. So basically, this sensors, they pick the signals directly from your muscles. So any active muscle that we have, in this case, he's got a muscle at this part over here, and we are picking signals from the contraction and relaxation of those muscles. They're being processed, and from there you can actually actuate 1 degree of freedom limb. And so a gentleman who was dependent on other people is now able to perform different tasks himself, as you can see in the video over here. Now, we had fitted these limbs on 3 patients, 2 male and 1 female. All of them had left arm below elbow amputations. And Alhamdulillah, it's been now nearly 3 years that they have been using it without any issues and fault. This project was done in collaboration with a hospital, which is Armed Forces Institute of Rehabilitation Medicine, AFRM, here in Rawalpindi. So they make the sockets for us, and the technology is all ours, which is in between. And just recently, 2 more limbs have been procured by them and fitted onto some patients from Wagda. So another project that this particular lab is doing is the sole project. These are basically 3D printed soles, and it's basically those who are a bit heavyweight or those who have diabetic problems. Um, they feel pain underneath their feet. So what you can do is you can simply scan your foot, the underside of your foot, and then the information is taken into a software, and from there a custom 3D printed sole is created for that person, which he can use for 6 months, and then they can be replaced. They're quite cheap, and this is one of the interesting projects that this particular lab is doing. Another project that we've done is basically for household applications. So it's very difficult to actually have a hospital bed at your home. So what we did is that we created this small frame which can actually be fitted on any bed underneath the mattress. It's a remote controlled frame, and it can be used to lift the patient up or down. So as you can see over here, so mostly at home, if you have old people, they can actually use this device. It's a very handy carry-on device, can be taken anywhere. Just put it in the car if you're in some place, and just place it underneath the bed, so you don't have to carry the whole hospital bed with you. So during the recent, COVID incident, we also worked, on different small devices as well. Like this one is a UV light air purifier. So basically, it has 2 UVC lights in it, and it's basically to as for hospitals or other quarantine areas where you don't want germs. So basically, air can go in from one inlet, and it's exhausted from the other inlet. And while inside, they pass through the UV lights, which actually work against different items like pathogens, microorganisms, mold and bacteria, etc. And it basically purifies the air for you. Now UV is basically dangerous for the skin. If you're exposed directly to it, it can cause skin cancer. That's why it's enclosed in a container, as you can see over here. Another very interesting device that we're working on is the otoscope. So it's basically to look into the air, but this particular device has a camera installed over here, and you have a screen on the front. So basically, a doctor can actually look into the air, and he can see a bigger image on the screen. He can take video, or he can take snapshots. So the prototype of this device has been developed, and we are hoping to commercialize it very soon. Then this lab is also working on the foot prosthesis side, in which passive foots, 3D printed foots, since we have capability of 3D, we have a number of 3D printers with us. So again, the 3D printed foots can be provided by this lab as well. Now to the next lab, the Haptics, Human Robotics and Condition Monitoring Lab that we have. Again, this is a split lab between 2 universities, NED and MUET. MUAT at Jamshoro, they're working more towards condition monitoring. Condition monitoring is mostly aligned towards predictive maintenance. And they're working on, railway applications where they have developed devices in which you can inspect the buoys, the wheels, the tracks. And say, for example, if there are any cracks or anything, you can, fix that before an accident could occur. The NED side is working on different domains, but two of their biomedical products are mentioned over here. The one on the left is basically for quality control of sutures. So it basically measures the force on the suture. And this one on the top right is basically a ventilator which was developed indigenously. So during the COVID, there was a call by Pakistan Engineering Council in which all the universities, researchers, industries, they were informed, okay, let's make our own ventilators. And about 40 ideas were submitted to them. And out of those 46 were shortlisted. And this ventilator, which is developed by Dr. Riaz, the inventor is here with us in the panel as well. This was basically shortlisted in those 6 ventilators. And they're going through draft approvals and all the process. 2 of them were fast tracked. This wasn't the top 2. 2 of them was fast tracked for commercialization. However, this is in the top 6, and we are working on the software improvement on it and improving the design of the ventilator. But during those days when everything was closed, when you didn't have access to all the equipment, Dr. Saab spent days and nights in his lab with his team, and they were able to develop this, which is a very major achievement and a moment of pride for our center as well. Similarly, this other device is basically for suture testing that I was saying. So it's basically for quality control, and it basically applies force on the sutures for the stitching that you have. And when it breaks, it notes that force and it can print the receipt out. This is being done for a pharmaceutical company, and you can actually do it for quality control as well. So labs that I just mentioned before, they were all relevant to NCRA, but considering this platform, one of the faculty member we have at NUST College of EME, Dr. Usman Akram, I requested him as well, and I requested him to send me his slides. He's also here at the panel. He's been doing some excellent work in biomedical domain as well, and I wanted to share that with the world as well. So Dr. Usman's team, first device that they've developed is the strabismus and has charting. So basically, this is the misalignment in the eyes. And basically, the manual procedure is pretty long. It takes about 25 to 30 minutes in which the patient, he looks at a screen and, there's a red dot and he has to superimpose the green dot on it. And there's a doctor who manually records all the data, and then the data is being interpreted. And for the both eyes, it takes 25 to 30 minutes. So we basically facilitated, Dr. Osman's team basically facilitated that by introducing a software and a laptop into it. So now the system is the same. However, the point location is being done by the doctor himself on the laptop. And then all the computation is being done by the software, and it actually generates the report, which would usually take a lot of time. And this particular system has been tested for 5,000 plus patients at various over 9 hospitals in Pakistan. The IPs, 2 IPs have been filed by Dr. Saab, and it's a commercialized product basically. Similarly, the next device is basically Echo, and this is basically a therapy device that sends vibrational waves to treat neurological disorders. And these are the pictures of the devices, and it basically sends ultra low frequency vibration waves, and for various disorders, tongue dysarthria, motor speech, apophysis, tongue apraxia, facial palsy, fine motor, slow cognition. This has been tested by PATC, and now it has been recommended to DRAP for evaluation. DRAP stands for Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan. So all medical devices have to get approved by them. And this device basically, it cleared the safety test against EN 6061 series. So very soon, hopefully, we'll be seeing this out there as well. And the third device that I'd like to mention is basically APPNA. So it's basically for patients who have epileptic episodes. This basically does not predict the epilepsy seizure, but it basically monitors it. So if a patient has a history of it, this band, he can just keep on wearing this band. It is connected with his mobile phone. The software has been developed. And if he has some sort of a seizure or anything, an alert is sent through the mobile phone to the caregivers through an SMS, and the data is also being logged in the system as well. So it goes through all of these processes of seizure detection, the patient's medical history is updated, mobile notifications being sent, data analytics is being done, and so on. And then again, when COVID hit, so we tried to do our best. We retrofitted our unmanned ground vehicles with spraying applications for quarantine zones. Even we gave our drones, which can be used for spraying applications. We made different types of face masks, and shields for the doctors, and we donated them to a few hospitals. And we NCRA actually developed the first COVID Pakistan app, and this app was just for screening purposes because everybody at that time was panicking and rushing to the hospital. So this app was for them to actually put their symptoms in, and it would tell them whether they should go to the hospital or avoid it. And this was used in 9 countries, and there were over 8,000 screenings of this particular app. And then later on, the government, they came up with their own app, which was much better, and it was connected with the national database. So besides, all of the products that we have, our center has been doing publications as well in journals and conferences. We have, because, government has funded us for 3 years, and after 3 years, we need to make our lab sustainable. We need to make our HR sustainable. So equipment has already been provided. So we've given all the labs the target of doing some sort of commercial activity so that they can generate their own funds and become self-sustainable. Till date, we have 8 startups that have been formed. We are working on over 62 prototypes. And then again, we are giving different types of trainings as per the specialty of each lab. So over 700 people have been trained so far. This number would have been much bigger, but due to COVID, we've had some setbacks. In terms of national level contribution, we are bringing the industry to 4.0. We are working with a couple of industries. We are training the HR. CPEC has brought in a lot of projects, so we are prepping for that as well. We've worked with various ministries as well on various robotic application. Like just last year, at the end of last year, we developed a drone policy with the Ministry of Science and Technology. And we actually presented it to the Prime Minister of Pakistan on the 21st of December. And based on that, a Civil Drone Regulatory Authority has been created. One of our PI, Dr. Vakar Shahid, he had a one-to-one meeting with the president in his office on 3D printers. And, now 3D printers have been added in one of the areas which Ministry of Science and Technology is looking at. So again, we are working on different national level projects as well. And then again, we are also doing promotion of this technology in Pakistan. So we had the 3rd International Conference on Robotics and Automation in Industry in 2019. This year on the 22nd and 26th and 27th October, we are having the 4th IEEE International Conferences, where we have some outstanding keynote speakers, and we have, papers, publications from all around the world. So that's another thing that we are doing. This year, we've got Professor Kanade, Professor Karki, and Professor William Malik from USA and Canada, who will be keynote speakers in this year's conference. So we're looking forward to that. We have our own website, ncra.org.pk. So for further information, people can visit our website. And we have our own Facebook page as well. So again, we try to, keep it current. Any development that's being done by any of the lab, we, try to share it on our Facebook page so that maximum people can know what NCRA is doing. So with this, I believe my time is up. About 40 minutes have passed. Thank you very much for the patience. And now I believe we can open the platform for questions.
Thank you. Excellent overview. Obviously, it's a lot to cover in 30-40 minutes. But at least it gives us an overview of what is going on currently in Pakistan in this field. I will see the questions if there are any. Dr. Abdul Rashid asking from...
Robert?
Yes.
I think it'll be great if we can invite the panelists to just introduce themselves one by one, so we also get to know them and where their lab is and what they're doing.
Okay. Yes, sorry. So I'm looking at the screen. Obviously, I would probably start just a minute each or so about your intro, where you are, where you're working. We have Dr. Zulfikar Bhutta. Most people know him. Dr. Siddiqui, Dr. Ali Raza, Uzair, Usman, Akram. So maybe let them introduce themselves one by one. We can start.
I can say their name and invite them, Babar. So maybe we can start with Dr. Ali Raza.
Hello, everyone. So I'm from UAT Lahore. Basically, the lab that we are doing research in is called Human-Centered Robotics Lab. So the central idea is that whatever robotics that we are pursuing, there are always humans connected with it, be it the prosthesis that you have seen just now, or some other robots that we are making. We always have some sort of human connection with that. In one case, for example, the robots are doing work alongside humans in an industrial setting. For example, for exoskeletons, what we are trying to do is to make those exoskeleton worn by the workers in order to have the fatigue removed or minimized. Generally, these are the domains. There are certain other areas which may be also kind of interesting. For example, we are doing one research with Hamad Medical Corporation, Qatar, where we are developing a simulator for CPR. So what we have done in that case is that we can now have different paradigms tested. For example, we can test the Lucas setting, we can test the AHI guidelines, and we can have some sort of optimization done organ by organ in order to identify what is going to be the best suitable combination to have an effective CPR done. We have made one CPR device, which is the first version. We are going to make another much improved on the basis of the results that we have got. Similarly, we have developed certain sensors, like EMG sensors have been developed in the lab. We have physiological testing, biomechanical testing facility. We have the motion capture set up in our lab as well. So in that particular sense, we can do quite a lot of mobility assessment by biomechanics and stuff like that, in addition to the mechatronic development that we are doing. So this is just like a brief kind of expansion of whatever has been said already. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ali Raza. Let me invite Dr. Usman Akram.
I'm a College of EME. I'm an associate professor, and also I am heading a research group. With the of our research group is to perform research in the area of biomedical signal and image analysis, mainly including artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. And we are also into wearable devices where we work on different embedded systems. Just to talk about few of our collaborations, like we have multiple international collaborations, and from USA, we are working with University of Pittsburgh for development of virtual reality-based therapy for amblyopia, which is lazy eye as well. And we have submitted a couple of proposals for funding on this idea. And we are also developing an AI-based retinal image analysis system along with Ocular Imaging and Reading Research Center, OIRRC, that's a California-based company, and ophthalmologists from Stanford are working in that OIRRC. So we are developing a cloud-based solution which have AI for different ophthalmology diseases. It could be a complete grader for fundus and OCT images, optical coherence tomography images. And similarly, we are also working with UK, where we are working with Glasgow, Sheridan University for cloud-based diagnosis of different chest diseases. Like after COVID, the analysis, AI-based analysis of CXR is very much in the market. And now from the research perspective, there are a number of things going on. So what we are doing, we are developing a commercial software, a cloud-based AI software, which can where anybody can upload his or her CXR and it will get based on different kind of lung diseases. So another work which we are doing chiropractic, where they want to analyze different physiologies and recovery in non-pharmacological therapies. So like our lab is quite much active in these kind of areas. Thank you.
Thank you. And let me invite Dr. Riazuddin.
Hello, everyone. I actually have been teaching and researching at Kennedy University, Karachi from last 16 years. And I'm also the PI of one of the NCRA lab, Haptics, Human Robotics and Condition Monitoring Lab. That is a joint lab And basically, we work in a haptics interfaces for virtual environments and for real environments. For example, we have the specialty in telepresence, where you can send one robot to any geographical location where human presence usually seems difficult, and you can manipulate from the other side and interact with them and get a feedback as well. So there are multiple applications from medical to military and so on, and even in space exploration. And in the wake of COVID, NID University Karachi NCRA lab developed indigenous ventilator, and we also that is almost in the final stages because we recently got the software validation approval. Probably with your guys' prayers and support, we will be having probably the first ICU ventilator developed by university, I guess. And apart from that, we are researching on some products, as also told by Dr. Umar. The surgical, the tensile measurement, you can say, or a pull tester that actually measures the quality of the thread suture that the surgeon uses during surgery. And before applying that to the patient, we need a quality mechanism. So we actually developed a very smart IoT-based device. And one of the domain is also with the STEM education that is actually developing. We have developed some curriculum and our own small bot, that is the NID bot. Recently, in parallel, we have been developing that. And apart from that, I'm also the director of the research, innovation, and commercialization at NID University. And that's it from us.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for such a wonderful presentation. And many people are applauding all the work you guys are doing and everything you have shared. I have written 18 questions, so I have a lot of questions of my own, but I would probably want to start giving space to other people. So I have a few of our committee chairs, and we have our worthy guest, Professor Dr. Zulfikar Bhutta Sahib. If any of you have any questions, you can please go ahead with your question. I can queue myself afterwards.
Anshai, I have a suggestion. It may not be a question. Is that okay? Is this a good time to make it?
Dr. Bhutta, please go.
All right. So I find this work extremely impressive, of course, and that's one of the reasons why I'm such an avid fan of these sessions. But as many people know, I mean, I chair a number of areas in Pakistan where I am very keen to see these initiatives connect. So my field is health, global health, and public health. So as the chair of the HEC Biology and Health Sciences panel, and also the chair of the Board of Governors of the NIH, the one concern that I have is that such a lot of islands of excellence don't connect to public health priorities in Pakistan. And I've made this suggestion once before that at some stage, we need to have initiatives such as data science, artificial intelligence, robotics, and some of these initiatives that have huge potential for national applications and also for potential export, come together with the public health priority people to develop a list of priority areas. At the moment, it seems a little bit happenstance. Somebody meets somebody and they come up with an area, and then you have a development of a technology. But maybe this could be done a lot more systematically. And then you will end up I was so impressed by seeing what you've developed for the care of patients at home, particularly the hospital bed frame, which is, as many people know, just so expensive to get otherwise. So have a technology that can be used with an existing bed frame. I mean, those are the kind of things that we need to see much more in Pakistan. And therefore, my proposal is to this wonderful group of entrepreneurs and innovators is that we should create an opportunity to get together with some of the public health and let's say health sciences experts from the provinces to see if you could come up with a list of priority areas for which there would be a demand and potentially also funding. And I can certainly do my level best to see if the existing funds within the National Research initiatives for universities and RPUs, global challenge funds, and others, including CPEC, could be focused on at least some of these areas. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Zulfikar Bhutta. And then, I wonder now that you're the chair for the boards for NIH, maybe there is a space at NIH to create a center for healthcare innovation that can form that platform and a bridge between all these experts and Pakistani diaspora, local experts, actual healthcare providers, to see one place where they can gather and discuss and debate every now and then to see what.
So there are two existing platforms that are approved by initially an ordinance and now an act of parliament. So as you know, the NIH restructuring is now an act. So therefore it's law of the land. So in that you have two institutes that will offer this opportunity. One is the National Institute of Health Research, which will provide research guidance and oversight and eventually funding, once we have the fiscal space for it. The second one is the Institute for Health and Nutrition. So, we have created those broad enough platforms. And then there's the third one, which is the National Center for Health Information and Informatics. So apart from the core work of the NIH, which is, CDC and the National Health Laboratories, and also vaccines and biotechnology, these are platforms that already exist as per law now. So we should utilize them. They are broad, they're not very narrow. And as I said, I would be very happy to facilitate. Most of the groups that are working on this, NUST and others, Air University, they're all based in Islamabad, so or the Twin Cities. So it should be possible to do that. And maybe APPNA can promote I'm not saying something more elaborate, but maybe just a workshop around getting people together to come up with a practical step-by-step approach. I'd be very happy to facilitate a meeting related to that in December. Over.
Yeah, sir, that's where we started our discussion early on, and that's what led to these webinars. In January and February, we started talking about this international symposium. Maybe we need to circle back and start talking. We have a date, we have some ideas now, and then maybe we'll circle back with you to discuss that more. Let me invite Professor Mustafa Siddiqui, who's the chair of the research subcommittee of APPNA Merit, for his comments or questions. Dr. Mustafa.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Khan. I was very impressed with your presentation and with everything which is happening in Pakistan. Really, it was far beyond what I was anticipating. And so congratulations for all the work and everyone who is in the panel, what they are doing. I deal with human robotics on a daily basis for the last 17 years, since I'm involved in deep brain stimulation, where we program the brain to treat neurological diseases. So it's a fascinating and a personal interest for me. My question for you is that I always believe that, and I'm sure you must be in agreement that all the great advances come with public-private partnerships. Both cannot do things in isolation. So one question I had was that, what's the mechanism you have for public-private partnership? So anyone who has a idea and they want to utilize the services which NUST Robotics Institutes is offering, how do they go around that? That's one thing. And second thing is, every day we get ideas about some type of a app for neuroscience. I was fascinated to see the software for strabismus. So every day we have ideas, and it would be great to have collaboration there to develop apps as well. So what's the process if someone has an idea and has to and wants to collaborate with you in developing this? Thank you.
But, thank you, Dr. Siddiqui, for your question. So let me answer it in a different way. First of all, in the past, I've been in academia and university where I'm serving since 2011, and various researchers were creating different pillars of the same thing. They were working in the same area, and we didn't have any idea of what each other we are doing. But after these national centers were formed, it's a young center. I mean, just started in our third year. So after these national centers are formed, one area that we are focusing on is that isn't any duplication of work. Researchers should support each other, but they should not duplicate each other's work. So in this context, each lab has been, informed to create the skill set. So our lab is not focusing on that they are able to develop just one product and continue that one product, but they should develop a skill set in a certain domain. For example, if somebody is working to develop a UGV robot, then they have that skill set. They can make any type of UGV robot. So that's one of the things which, again, like Dr. Butta was also saying, that we are now focusing on the skill set, not on the product itself. Secondly, as far as getting in touch with us is concerned, so we have our website. I believe Dr. Danish can share our email addresses as well. This center has a secretariat. I'm leading the secretariat. And then we have all of these labs, where all the PIs and co-PIs are. So if you visit our website, you can find their contact details as well. But if you want a single point of contact, then the secretariat or myself, I can be contacted. You can discuss the idea and the technology with me, and I can connect you with the relevant lab. And we have been working with various people on this formula, because many industries have contacted us. Some public organizations have also contacted us, and if they have an idea, we discuss it, and then we have a meeting with the relevant people who have that particular skill set, and that's how we are taking a project forward. And besides that, I would just like to share one other experience, is that Ministry of Science and Technology, they were working on the drone policy, but the actual R&D people who are working with drones, they were part of our labs, and we were not invited onto that platform. So the thing is, when we found out that this sort of a thing is happening, we contacted them to the Higher Education Commission, and then they invited us. And at the end, we actually not only made that policy, but we were the people who actually presented that policy, because we understood the technology. So I would like to support the comment Dr. Butta said, that yes, at higher levels, we should be incorporated in meetings. Like if there's something, if NIH is working in the health field, they should at least have any one of our representatives. And, with that, we can actually put in our input, or we can connect the right person to, join those meetings and have discussions over there. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. So, we always go over time, and I'm happy to stay, but just to give an idea, in case we are running over time, I see that there are some questions in the queue. I would love to get to them. My co-chairs are here in the meeting. I would love to invite them. I see some hands raised. I would love to hear from them. And then, so I think my questions, I will just have to post them and get answers later on, and discuss them, and maybe have a follow-up meeting with all of you. So let me see that I saw that Dr. Usman Akram is able to answer a couple of questions in the Q&A box. Usman, Saib, if you want to go ahead, unmute yourself and answer those questions.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Ganesh. Like Dr. Abdul Rashid was asking, like, does locally manufactured ventilators should be validated for AI? So right now, I don't think that they should go for AI. Like, it's the basic software along with the ventilators which they should validate, but not the AI part. And another thing, like Dr. Samia Taslim was asking, like, how can get the seed funding? So we have a number of platform here at Pakistan. We have HEC. In HEC, we have different calls which comes up for different kind of funding, and then we have Pakistan Science Foundation, as well as we have Ignite. So all these platforms are pretty much in for the seed funding. And if they are well into the startup, or they want to have some kind of incubation based on their idea, so NIC, National Incubation Center, is one of the best place for that.
Wonderful, thank you. So I see a couple of questions related to all these products that you're showing. Are they commercially available? Can they be purchased? Can they participate in this development or commercialization? So what's the status on that?
Yes, well, a few of them are commercially available, but then again, some of them are in the prototype phase, where near completion. So whichever product you're interested in, you can just get in touch with us and we'll let you know if it's commercially available or the time frame on which it will be commercially available. But like I was saying, the prosthetic limb project, it has already been handed over to FIRM. So it's commercially available. Even this bed project that I was referring to, recliner, that is also available. So it can also be procured. But then some of them, like, you know, the otoscope project that we have, that's still in prototype phase. I mean, the prototype is ready. We just need to convert the prototype to a product now, because that's, you know, with a 3D printed body and all that. So the testing and all have been done, but that still has to, you know, convert from prototype to product. So it depends whichever product you're interested in, you can just get in touch with us and we'll give you the time frame, or we'll let you know that it's ready and you can procure it straight away.
Wonderful. And then one question from Dr. Imran Mirza is that what is the process of securing patents and protecting intellectual property in Pakistan? Do you run into those challenges?
Well, lucky for us, lucky for some universities and unlucky for some universities, since all of the labs are established in universities, so they have to follow the rules and regulations of universities. Now, NUST is very lucky in this context because we have our own patent office. So all we have to do is just we need to, you know, send our design patents, so utility patents, to that office, and they do all the patenting job for us. Same goes with other universities, but then some of our universities, the government universities, they are facing a bit of issues in filing patents, but through this center and by, you know, putting our university in a leading role, we have you know, approached their vice chancellors and their administration, and we've told them that they should, you know, allow their faculty to have startups, to have some sort of a commercial front, and also, you know, have an IP policy which should be followed. But yes, in Pakistan we have IP offices, and, you know, patents are being filed easily.
Wonderful. And then another question from Dr. Iqbal Ahmed is, do you have a mechanism where people can come to you with an idea of a product idea and collaborate with you, bring in funding to develop that product and then look at in commercialization?
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, we are working with certain industries who bring in their ideas. So we are, you know, we provide the intellectual input, they provide the funding for it. And then again, since the people that I'm referring to, they're already established industries. So, you know, the idea can be licensed out to them on royalty basis. So we are already working with certain industries in this capacity. But if it's an idea from a person, in that point of view, we have to do market feasibility and see if it's actually feasible in Pakistan or not. So it depends on the idea as well.
Very good. So I think I went through all the questions that were written. So before I start with my questions, let me invite some of my other members here. So Professor Sarwat Hussain is the chair of APPNA Merit Subcommittee on Artificial Intelligence, and we're working on a white paper on what we would like to see and how to integrate AI education in medical schools and medical school level. So Ji Sarwat Saab, please go ahead.
Gee, thank you very much. First of all, congratulations to really a brilliant presentation. And to tell you the truth, every time there is a webinar on merit, it's an eye-opener how brilliant our youngsters are and what they are doing. The only thing is that if you look at a 30,000 view of our webinars, we have unearthed such tremendous amount of talent and work in our country. But unfortunately, we are only learning about these from these webinars. And just think of those people, even in government and responsible people who have not attended this webinar, they would not know what is going on. And in response to and in continuation with Bhutta Saab's comment, the integration of all these works can only happen if you democratize these places of excellence by starting with the grassroots movement of technology and research and artificial intelligence. And, you know, I give you the example that we produce world-class cricketers because we start playing cricket in our gullies and in our homes. And we talk about it, and from that develop the world-class cricketers. And unless, in my opinion, at least, unless we start the grassroots level research and technology and
mobilize the tremendously intelligent youngsters of our country, I think the reaching the world level and leading the world is going to be delayed until that happens. So for that, I would suggest that we should be, all these institutions should start writing articles in Urdu and in local languages in the newspapers so that people know what is being done, what is possible, and the government officers will learn about this, they will talk to each other, and they will produce a network, and then what Bhutta Saab's vision is will be realized. Other than that, occasional seminars here and there, people will be dazzled and nothing else will happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me invite Dr. Shahid Rafiq, who's my co-chair for APPNA Merit and had been chair for the last 4 or 5 years before he gave on the baton to me. Ji Shahid bhai, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Danish. I congratulate all the participant speakers for their comments. I would, really pass on my time to other questions and panelists. And I just have a comment that I'm glad that Dr. Bhutta, who represent government of Pakistan in wearing many important hats, we and Dr. Bhutta are on the same page, because we started this journey in January, February. We wanted to do this conference in March, then November, September, and now we already, 70%, 50% have a concept cleared for December. So I think this is the time to have a separate meeting with Dr. Bhutta and his team.
Thank you. That'll be wonderful. I see that there's a couple of questions from Dr. Iqbal Ahmed. So Iqbal bhai, I've given you microphone. Please go ahead and ask your questions and from the team.
Thank you, Danish and Dr. Shahbaz Khan and the team. Very, very impressive presentation. I'm so happy I was part of it. But my question is specifically about if we have, and this was my experience with one of the projects that I was involved with, in developing a safe suturing device and getting it patented. This is one of my residents who developed it. And then creating a 3D or a prototype. So my question specifically is, if you already have a patent in the United States, for example, and you want to create a prototype so that you can bring it to actually manufacture and develop it to market, I was very fascinated by your prototype 3-dimensional modeling lab, and wondered if that, because it's very expensive to do that in the US, to develop a prototype.
Yes.
But if somebody approaches you with a design and you have the capabilities of, is that something that we can even begin to?
Yes, we can. Well, basically, one of the labs that I mentioned right in the beginning was the Robot Maker Lab. And that was basically a prototyping lab. So we have some state-of-the-art equipment in, we can do mechanical designing, we can do mechanical fabrication, we can do PCB fabrication, we can do the integration. So whether you want to get something designed from a piece of paper, that can also be done. And if you want to get it, a prototype developed, that can also be done. So we have this facility because NCRA is basically a hardware-based center. It's not primarily a software-based. So all of our products, they'll have some sort of hardware in it because it's robotics. And in that context, this whole lab was developed to support all the other labs in developing the prototypes. So yes, one of the labs is specifically catering this particular aspect of prototyping. So all you have to do is just get in touch with us, send us our designs, we'll evaluate it, we'll let you know if anything needs to be done in that, and then we can go on with the prototype development. Provided that material is available in Pakistan, it's not that rare of a material, but if it's standard material, we even have 3D printing, we've got a 10 mm laser cutting machine, we've got a CNC machine. So all of these machines, we've got, a dual layer PCB manufacturing setup. We have this as a facility at NCRA.
Well, that's really great to hear. I mean, I'm thinking of not just one project, but obviously if that facility is recognized and you make and your product quality, the prototype quality is as good or better than what's developed here, I think the cost benefit could be an avenue of revenue generation for NCRA.
Yes, it could be. But one thing I would like to mention that this is just for prototype development. If you're going for mass scale, development, then you need to have some sort of an industry to support it. So we are going to develop the prototype, and then we have to, link with some sort of an industry for mass scale development.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm thinking just because a lot of the innovation labs in every university or even in industry, they have to go through the prototype development process. And that's one of the expensive steps for innovators to even bring their ideas to potential fruition. So that's one question. The other question I had was about, that's in one of my interests is medical simulation and task training and complex procedural training in specialties like surgery, anesthesia, critical care. And interactive mannequins, which are suitable for procedural training, are very expensive, at least here. But what the capabilities that you are demonstrating in this presentation lead me to believe that, yes, that's something that perhaps NCRA can be interested in or develop further. And thank you, Danish.
Something we can look into. That's something we can look into. We haven't worked with interactive mannequins at the moment. However, it's something that we can look into. Thank you.
So thank you. So we're over time, so I don't think we'll have time to discuss too much after all. And I will definitely follow up with Dr. Shahbaz Khan, Umar Shahbaz Khan, and with other questions. I just, I wrote a lot of questions, but they were related to things like, role of physicians, how do you get an idea, role of education in medical school on robotics and automation, battery storage and backups for medical devices, solar power generation for hospitals, air quality data dashboard, and environmental health studies on respiratory diseases, sensory designs for wearable devices for sensors, fault detection, tremor analysis, post-stroke rehabilitation. I saw that, and that looked very appealing. The Chinese are using robots for patient reception and guidance. They are, there's these concept of self-driving wheelchairs or assisted driving for wheelchairs. There's a question about patient transport and health. So a lot of beds are motorized beds here now, and transport is easy. The beds now have sensors about patients, oxygen monitoring as they're being transported. I had questions about UVC for mask sterilization. That was a big project. Our center, University of Nebraska, is one of them that used UV light for mask sterilization for reusing of N95 and other such masks. Then I would have also loved to talk to you about 3D printing for medical education and also for medical industry, collaborative clinical trials with Pakistani diaspora. I'm involved in a clinical trial with a product that was insole sensors for shoes that were developed at Taiwan University, and they are doing their diaspora, Taiwanese diaspora here, are now doing gait analysis and those studies here, because those we have funding access here if there are collaborators from here, and they can take an innovative idea and request for local funding and get that idea tested on clinical trials. Remote patient monitoring is becoming very big. There's a new reimbursement code that came out from Medicare for at-home monitoring, such as at-home monitoring for tremors, for sleep studies, for EEGs. So a lot of devices potential exists there. And then, I would love to get flyers for your conference that's coming up and promote that in all of our platform and encourage many of our physicians to attend your conference. And if there is a possibility, it's late, but if there's a possibility of a healthcare focus session, APPNA Merit will be more than happy to work with you and support that. And then I think the CPR stimulator that you're developing for Hamad is very interesting, because we have a subcommittee on BLS and ACLS for Pakistan, and we want to develop a national center for a big CPR in Pakistan, and having a local homemade simulator will be one of those things needed to achieve that. So tons of things to talk about, and time is never enough. And hopefully we can follow up on it. I see that Dr. Ali Raza's hand is raised, so I will let him make his last comments before we wrap the session for the day. Dr. Ali Raza, please go ahead.
I'm sorry I've gone over time, but just to connect with Iqbal Sahib's question, we have developed certain mannequins as well. There's one mannequin that we developed for the hypothermia treatment, and the one that we have already discussed for the CPR. We are now working on transforming into into all instrumented mannequin as well. So just for the sake of clarity, I thought I should.
Wonderful. And let me invite one of our great friends and one of my collaborator, Dr. Sayyid Uzair Sahab, for his last words and comments to officially close the session. Ji, Dr. Uzair Sahab.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Danish, and thank you, Dr. Shahbaz. It's a wonderful session, and we really time to time sit together and see what can we do. And the great thing is that you develop everything with the end in mind. And with Dr. Zulfikar Bhutta, definitely we can prioritize some of the healthcare related initiative with the public focus. And we'll get back to you. Let me have a more closer look to your innovations. And then we can, contact you and we can take it to the next level. So my interest areas are the medical devices, the pharmaceutical and their commercialization and, commercialize the research. So I think that that's a great opportunity. And thank you very much to you and your team. What a great activity going on back in the country. Thank you very much. That's all from my side.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining, and please have a nice day. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
for the kind invitation and the
Allah Hafiz.
platform. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.